Back again by unpopular demand. It's me, here to give you my unsolicited opinions on today. It's really Hollow Knight Silksong, but the greater discussion at hand is difficulty in video games. Now, this is a topic that comes up every few years whenever there's a new popular difficult video game. Because typically, the video games themselves these days fall into one of two camps. They're either A, trying to make money, therefore they bring the difficulty down and give the concessions for the everybody's welcome. Everybody come play this game. And, you know, it's not to say that there's not anything wrong with that. There's some phenomenal games. Look at Final Fantasy 16. Final Fantasy 16 has items that you can equip that literally just kind of play the game for you. And it's there for anybody who just struggles with hacky-slashy combat, or, you know, they just kind of want to experience the story. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. On the other end of that camp, the neighboring camp, if you will, is the get good games. Your Soulsborne, your Souls-like games. Games that provide serious difficulty and challenge, but serious reward mentally and, you know, within the game. They are aiming to have you hit your own dopamine receptors by overcoming monumental challenges. And so there's always a back and forth argument between these two camps. Whenever something like an Elden Ring comes out, whenever something like a Hollow Knight Silksong comes out, where it's like, wow, these games are difficult. And now it feels like people with lower skill levels are, you know, buying these games and just simply not able to play them, and the best retort that they are given is get good. Now, I myself am no slouch when it comes to video games. In fact, I've kind of fallen into more of the get good camp a time or two in my life. Not the best place to be, not the best attitude to have. It's almost like being a sore winner, right? So I try not to. Except for jokes and memes, of course. But, you know, I've had no problem with playing a lot of major Souls games, you know, these difficult Hollow Knight, Silksong, all of these games that have been coming out. I have my moments of difficulty. Heck, in the background right now, you're watching footage of me that I recorded just before I recorded this, my vocals here, where I'm struggling to beat this boss, and you get to see just how much I struggle with this. But, you know, I'm steadily chugging along in the game. There's a certain amount of, I guess, lack of concession that the get good players give the lesser skilled players, right? By just telling them, oh yeah, the game's meant to be hard, just get good. And I always felt like we could do better than that. I always felt like there is somewhere in the middle where we could implement some kind of device, some kind of mode that allows the newer players not to have their hand held and, you know, devalue the effort the get good players have. You know, the effort they've put into beating these games and overcoming these challenges. I feel like I have an idea, at least. And that idea stems back to a game called X-Men Mutant Apocalypse for the Super Nintendo, way back in the 90s. That being that there was two modes that you were presented with when you started up the game. Mission mode and training mode. Mission mode is the game as intended. You have each Year 5 superheroes. You got Wolverine and Gambit and Cyclops and Psylocke and Beast. And each one of them has a level dedicated to them at the beginning. Each one's got 2 lives, and you have to try to beat that level, each one of the characters' levels, And then the game progresses, there's a couple more levels, some bosses, and the game's over. Super Nintendo games were short back then. It was phenomenal. And so with that, the training mode offers you the chance to play those 5 levels. You have a third life, and I think I don't have the number. I've not ran the numbers on this statistic, but I think you dish out more damage and you receive less damage. This offers the players a chance to familiarize themselves with these 5 characters, with these 5 levels. Oh, and I even forgot. All the super moves are bound to one button in the training mode. Instead of having to do Street Fighter combo inputs to do your special moves in the mission mode, you press the X button on the Super Nintendo controller to do your super moves in X-Mutant Apocalypse's training mode, right? This offers you, the gamist, a chance to really sit down and familiarize yourselves with these characters, what they do, what these levels are, how enemies interact with you, how you interact with them, bosses. It gives you a chance to learn the game efficiently without necessarily having your hand held. The game doesn't hold your hand either which way, but now you have a chance to play this easy mode, which has a cutoff. You beat the 5 levels and it turns out, oh yeah, you were just doing the simulation, now go do the actual thing. I feel like if we implemented something like this in modern games, a chance, let's say Silksong had a training mode, allowing you to play just, I guess, maybe a small chunk of the game up to a boss with some of the abilities unlocked, and you can, really get to know and how this game moves and feels, and the damage and the mechanics and things like that, and maybe even come out with it with like a little reward at the end, and then they say, all right, now go play the actual game. I feel like training your players, teaching them the game, and then sicking them on the game could have a better overall outcome in the end, in terms of not feeling like, these lower skilled players have been ripped off, and not feeling like the higher skilled players are getting their achievements devalued by there being an easy mode. The middle ground there, the one that I can think of, is teaching your players. And I think that was like a bad precedent that was set by Dark Souls, all these difficult games where like the whole point was like, oh yeah, it doesn't hold your hand. I think maybe if we just offered players the chance to have their hand held just a little bit at the start, really teach them how the game works, you would have a lot less of this backlash, this ever-revolving discussion about difficulty. And I think that would benefit everybody in the long run. Of course, this is just an opinion given by me, your local YouTube idiot. I'm only joking, of course. But I do want to know if I'm wrong. Let me know. We've got a comment section down there. Let's use it. I'm gonna be doing my best to respond to things and learn, and if I can be given some solid reasons as to why this this idea wouldn't work especially on a game dev level, I would love to hear it. So like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll be back with more stupid opinions in the future. Bye bye.